was Theodor Herzl's vision that has led to the reality of Israel. What he envisioned was a state for the Jewish people, and what we have today is a state for all of the Jewish people and all of Israel's citizens without regard to their race or religion or their sexual orientation or their national origin or their culture or the language they may speak or the preferences they may have in any certain aspect of their lives. Vision to us means equality, that all people shall be able to participate, enjoy, and appreciate Israel as a visionary state. Please welcome Alicia Post, the AZM National Program and Communications Director, who will introduce our next speakers and program. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alicia Post. I am AZM's National Program and Communications Director. As you know, the theme is Zionism Forward, Leadership, Vision, Reality. In the spirit of vision, I am honored to have a conversation today with two people who exemplify that concept. Welcome to Dr. Naya Lecht and India Persuad. So let's start with you, Naya. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be the Zionist you are today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be one of your guest speakers. So a little bit about myself is I was born in the former Soviet Union, and that's an important part of my identity as a Zionist and a Jew, which I believe is interlinked and exchangeable. I was born there and I came here when I was 6 years old. I didn't experience the totalitarian regime, but my parents did. And so they told me a lot of stories about what it meant to be a Jew in the Soviet Union. And the interesting thing is that to be a Jew in the Soviet Union was an ethnic identity. It was not a religious identity. Whereas for American Jews, the counterpart here, it's the religious identity and not the ethnic. And so the kind of Zionism is very much part of Russian Jewish identity, because Zionism is an ethnic identity, a peoplehood identity. And so it's so easy to embrace for a Russian-speaking Jew like myself, who was raised by parents who understood that to be a Jew is to be part of an Am Yisrael, a people of Israel, a Jewish people. And so the type of Zionist I am is one that is very much informed by peoplehood and not per se by religion. So, and that is a very important distinction to be made for American Jewry, which we can discuss later on. But that means that I very much believe that that Israel is the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. I'll just tell you a very small anecdote. When my mother was in the Soviet Union, one day she was on a trolley bus and a woman approached her and said an anti-Semitic thing to her. And what did she say? She said, "Oh, I know you want to get out of here," because Jews wanted to leave. And she said, "So just go back to Palestine." Because in the mind of the non-Jew in the Soviet Union, the Russian, Palestine meant Jewish homeland. And that's something American Jews struggle with, is an understanding that Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people. But Soviet Jews, Russian-speaking Jews, it's a very short conversation. So yes, my Zionism is very much informed by an ethnic identity, what Gil Troy calls sometimes identity Zionism.
Amazing. We actually heard from Gil just a little bit before. And India, can you tell us a little bit about the Zionist you are?
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank AZM for inviting Naya and I to speak. Naya, I think your story is incredible and I can't wait to hear what else you have to say. But my name is India. I'm the creator and host of a digital series called Inside Israel at I24 News. I live in Tel Aviv right now at the moment. And also, speaking of what Naya is saying, I am Jewish, and she mentioned identity Zionism. So from a young age, I was raised and taught that Israel is important to the Jewish people and to our faith. So in that way, I do support Israel. And I was involved a lot with the Hillel at my university, at the University of Georgia. And there we did a lot of pro-Israel activities. And that really inspired me to move to Israel after graduation to essentially share Israel to the world, right where all the action is happening.
So for many, particularly generationally, the perception of Zionism is not often used and is seen as divisive. As you know, at AZM, we pride ourselves on embracing Zionism in all its forms. Is this an issue in terms of your Zionist activities? How do you deal with this? How does it guide you in your work? I guess, Naya, do you want to begin?
Sure. This is a very important question. And embedded in this question is a deeper issue of how has Zionism been taught and how has Zionism been served, if you will, to American Jewry as a political movement, as an ism. And that is the biggest tragedy, I think, of the established Jewish establishment, of the way that they teach Zionism. I went to a Jewish day school almost through high school. And I thought that before Herzl, there was nothing. But I thought Herzl had invented the idea that Jews should have a homeland. The issue with the way that Zionism is presented to American Jews is a political movement. And what have they done? They've divorced it in many ways from identity. Because, all right, it's true, Zionism was part of the 19th century movements, the isms, the nationalism, the socialism. This is not true. It is a political movement. But if we only look at it that way, we're doing a grave disservice to our Jews in the diaspora, and I'm talking about American Jews, because they see it as Zionism over there, and I am a Jew, and they don't understand that the two are inextricably linked. So that what happens when somebody like Linda Sarsour says, Jews are welcome, Zionists are not, or you have to check your Zionism at the door, a lot of Jews go, okay, I understand they make concessions. No, that you don't there is no concessions to be made there. They're dividing who you are, and they're redefining the Jewish identity. Zionism may be a political movement, but the idea of Zion, that idea is as old as the Jewish people. So to your question, is it divisive? Yes. But it's because we have approached it and we have served it incorrectly. So that's my answer.
Thank you. Yeah.
I strongly believe in meeting on common ground when it comes to Zionism, as broad as the spectrum as it can be. There are so many people against Israel that we don't need more fragmentation amongst those who do support Israel and Zionism in whatever capacity they choose to. And that's why personally in my work, I choose to focus on my energy on what we can agree on. I see so much more success in reaching people, especially online, when I do this. For example, when I talk about food or culture or music, most of us can agree on that. And it extends our reach beyond just the Jewish community and into a lot of countries that have strong bonds with Israel, including maybe Israel and the Philippines that maybe don't have large Jewish populations or any Jewish populations at all. But these sort of videos rally people together behind this cause of Zionism. And it's a cause that we should absolutely pursue, and a strategy we should absolutely pursue.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your thoughts on the future. It's a big question. What do you envision the Zionist movement in America to be like in 20 years? What do you personally think that the state of Israel will be like? How will the work that you're doing have a role in shaping it? So why don't we start with you, India?
So in 20 years, I see the Zionist movement in the United States growing significantly. I think we are going to see an increase of the number of Jews making Aliyah, and I'm very excited for it. In Israel, I want to see mutual peace between Jews and Arabs. And in regards to the work and the media, I think the videos we are producing at I-24 News have tremendous reach. And with every piece of content we put out, not even just myself as an individual, but all the content creators that are pro-Israel and supporting Zionism, with every video we create, we are rallying the support for the cause of Israel and for the cause of peace.
It's beautiful. I share your sentiment, but I want to take a step back, if I may, to address the question. I'm very much I think that we need to take a step back and look at American Jewry. And it's very important to note that when American Jews came, the first settlers, to here in about 1880, there was a very famous platform called the Pittsburgh Platform of 1885. And what did they do? They embraced a religious identity and they jettisoned an ethnic identity, meaning it was a manifesto that said, we the Jews understands ourselves to be a religious minority. We fully embrace our religious identity. And I understand why they would do that, American Jews, because this country was founded on religious freedom for religious minorities. So they needed to couch their language in order to fit the American context. The ripple effect, the intergenerational effect from 1880, where they embrace a religious identity, but eschew this ethnic identity, is what we see now, which is a very big gap, and it's a tragic, very big gap between American Jews and their love, embrace, identity with Israel. And it's growing and growing wider and wider. It's growing wider and wider and wider because American Jews are no longer seeing themselves as a people, a Jewish people, but rather a religious minority. And that's kind of funny, if you zoom out in Jewish history, the Russian Jews were robbed of their religious identity and embraced the ethnic, and the American Jews were robbed of the ethnic and embraced the religious. So India is very optimistic. I tend to be more realistic. I do see a big challenge is what I see. I see a big challenge for redefining Judaism. And I work in the teen space. So I work with mostly with teens. And I see with my job with teens how if before in our curriculum, which is at Club Z, we begin by talking about the Arab-Israeli conflict, and we take for granted, okay, they understand that this is the ancestral homeland, that we are part of the people of Israel. Now we have to take two ginormous steps back and do a lot of that work with American youth, where we remind them, it's really reminding that you are part of a people, and that maybe, just maybe, identifying it as a religion is actually hurting the cause. But India, you are right. There are people who are making Aliyah more and more, but I do see the challenge. And if I was a doctor and I was prescribing a method for curing this, it would be to remind American Jews through education that we are a people. It's very important. I think Avram Enfeld said really famously, Judaism is not a religion. Judaism is not a religion, it's an ethnicity. And that's absolutely correct. And when we teach that to our teens, especially our American teens, they fight me. They're like, no, we're a religious minority. And I'm like, no, you're a people. So the future of Israel depends on Jews in America, and Jews in America need to be re-educated, is what I'm saying.
So with that and your work with teens, I guess, are there any goals that you have in continuing to promote Zionism?
My goal is, so I work with teens, right, in Club Z. My goal is for them to understand that Zionism does not begin with Herzl. So something that we introduce them to is the idea of Proto-Zionism. We say Moses, Abraham, they were the first Zionists, right? We talk about language, and the birth of the Zionism is a 19th century construct, just like as we talk about nationalism, communism. And really, it's very liberating for them to say, oh, wait, yes, the word may have been created in the 19th century, but the idea of Zion is so ancient, it's so part of us. Somebody saying something disgusting about Jews and their, Shabbat is equally disgusting when they, say something terrible about Israel. It's equal. So we do a lot of identity Zionism, where we teach them and we talk about it through heavy discussions. What does it mean to be a Jew? It's not just rituals that are, codified in halacha, but it's, by the way, there are halacha that are codified that are about Israel. It's about a really strong connection with Israel. It's very, very important. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're building this new generation of American Jews, shaping their identity. And it's kind of an interesting moment where the Russian Jews, who've kind of been laying dormant, are now giving back in many ways, I believe, and are re-entering the conversation for American Jews, and are telling them, kind of reminding them from this slumber, waking them up to say, you're part of a people. No, it's not just a religious identity.
Amazing. As we're concluding, India, as a blogger, a social media influencer, and of course, your work in the media, what would you say maybe goals for you to continue to promote Zionism?
Well, I wanted to mention one thing before I answer. For Naya, it's interesting how you bring up this religious identity versus an ethnic identity, and the process of Aliyah. And I'm personally going through it right now. It's very interesting that you bring up this point, because it is very much a religious identity process. They want documents of ketubah. They want documents, religious documents to prove Judaism. If I handed them a DNA test, which I do have, they wouldn't accept it. So it's very fascinating that that's the way that they verify your Jewish identity. So moving on, as this blogger, content creator at I24 News and on my personal accounts, I plan to continue to share Israel through the media. I don't have any other option. I know it's my strength, and we have to use our strengths. All of us is on the same team. We use our strengths at what we're good at to show Israel to the world. And after all, it's the media that connects us all. And instead of using it to divide, I want to choose to use it as a tool to give Israel a voice, and also inspire other creators, other young teens and people who are just online watching the videos, inspire them to make videos and share their experience about Israel, about their Jewish identity and the interconnectedness and all of that.
Amazing. Well, I do want to also mention, I know, Naya, another thing that you'll do, I know you're a finalist in our Zionist Education Accelerator, so I'm really excited about that. And India, I know that, we've discussed it before, but that you were a recipient of our HBR scholarship, which also helped, hopefully in your journey. And kol hakavod, batzlacha, we wish you so much luck with your journey of making Aliyah, and of course are here to support you. And you really, for both of you, we just look forward to continuing to do this work together. So thank you both so much for joining us. And thank you to everyone here today with us. I really hope that this conversation helped to spark or helped you to gain some insight on how we can continue to move Zionism forward and the role that you can play. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So good to meet you, India.
Thank you.
Thank you.